Okay everybody, welcome to iPad training day 2. For today's training we're going to focus on a few different things. First, we're going to talk about using the internet at home in the yellow USC login button, what it is, why you need to use it, and how does it actually work for you. Second, looking at Find My iPad, what it is, why you might want to set it up, and how can you actually set it up. That is something very important. And then third, we're going to look at the calendar app and how you can get that set up and start using that as a replacement for your binder reminder or time tracker. So we'll talk a lot about those items. We'll save this next one here for a different day. So let's start with this. How do you get wireless access at home using this yellow USC login button? I apologize for the pixelated picture here. I didn't have anything better. However, what I'm going to do here is switch over to a video that was recorded by a member of our tech department, Mr. Walker, that explains how to use the USC login button to get internet access at home.
Welcome to a quick video about logging into the iPrism at home from your iPad. First, locate the yellow and red USC login web clip. Tap it and you'll be brought to the iPrism authentication screen. In the username field, type your Upper St. Clair network username, and in the password field, type your Upper St. Clair network password. Do not use your email username or password. Once you're done typing in your Upper St. Clair network credentials, tap the Authenticate button, and you are now authenticated to our iPrism.
So 2 quick points of clarity here. First off, iPrism is the internet filter that we use on all of the devices. In order for you to have any access to the internet when you are outside of school or even in school, you need to connect to this filter. In school it automatically connects for you. When you are out of school you need to actually go through the process that was just described. And also the word authenticate just basically means to connect, so don't get too mixed up in the vocabulary there. Now let's move on to something that you can do and you can set up, which is Find My iPad. So I'm sure you can imagine how scary it would be if you lost your iPad and you couldn't find it. Yes, you would probably feel like that. However, fortunately there's something on our iPad that we can set up, which is location services and turning them on. If you do this and you lose your iPad, you are actually able, with the Find My iPad feature, to find your iPad and be able to calm down and not be in such a panic here about losing your device. So how does all of this work? Well, to start you're going to click on the Settings app and then onto iCloud in the left hand column. From here, in case you have never signed up for iCloud before, never used iCloud, all it really does is use your Apple ID to create a secondary account, kind of like how we use Google Drive. And if you don't know that, don't worry, we'll talk about that soon. So in this area up at the top, you're going to put in your Apple ID and your Apple ID password. Once you push Sign In, it will enable you to, and let's move ahead here, it will enable you to use a lot of different features with iCloud. So in specific, let's talk about a couple here. However, for Find My iPad, you want to make sure that this is on. And once you click on that, I also want you to click in, and we're going to add one more, and that is Send Last Location. What this will do is make it so that if your iPad is about to die in terms of the battery, it will actually send a location back to Apple so that Apple, or you, whenever you want to look this up, will know where it was last prior to it running out of battery. Why is this important? Because whenever you actually are to use this, let's say you do lose your iPad, what you can do is go to iCloud.com, sign in using your Apple ID, and then select Find My iPhone or Find My iPad. And if it is on with the location services on, it will actually go and calibrate and bring you back a map showing you exactly where you are. If you don't have location services on, it will give you a couple different options. It will ask you if you want to play a sound and make it beep where it's located, put it in lost mode, which will make it so that it is locked, but you can see its location. Or you can actually erase your iPad completely if you're worried that you have data on there that you don't want somebody to receive. So this is a very, very nice feature, this Find My iPad, and it's something that you will probably, I don't know if you'll use, but you probably want to have it on just in case something does happen and you lose your iPad. Now let's get on to our real task here for the day, which is the calendar app. So no binder reminders or time trackers anymore. We're going to be using the calendar. How can we set this up and how can we use it? First off, if you look in your iPad, you should have an app that looks just like this. So it'll tell you the date today on there. The thing that's really amazing about the calendar app is that you can actually use a calendar and put in dates, events, everything like that, and it will sync on any device that you use that is signed in, as long as it has your Gmail account to it. So because we're going to be connecting with Google Calendars, and I almost told you to use the iCloud calendar, but we changed our mind on that. But because you're using your Gmail calendar, this will be accessible anywhere, really, anywhere that you have the internet. So here's what it can look like. So here's a sample of what your week could look like based upon the things that you have scheduled for the day. You can also look at it from a day-by-day view. So this is just, and if you look at the top of the screen, we have day, week, month, year. I prefer to use week the most, but day is also kind of nice. But you can look and see everything that you have scheduled in for a block of time, and then you can add events very quickly and easily. In fact, all that you would do in your calendar to add an event is just tap and hold on a specific location. So if you were to tap at this spot with your finger, a box will pop up like the one that is right here that says new event. It gives you the chance to add a title, add a location, add the time that it starts, add the time that it ends, and all kinds of other great stuff. Now, how do we want you to use this? What we are hoping for you to do is you'll actually use this to create your, or to keep track of your homework. So what you can do is create a homework slot at night whenever you have available time, and then in your notes you're going to put down your specific homework assignments. Now, why do this instead of doing it in some other fashion? Well, here's the one great bonus of doing this within a calendar app. What you can actually do is practice your time management, really keep track of your time management here, because at night we want you to be putting in all of the events that you have for yourself as reference. So for instance, let's say you have some sort of a sporting event from 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock at night. What you should do is put that in here into your calendar, and then find a time slot that you actually can complete your homework. That way you're not only planning out what homework needs to be completed, but when you're going to be able to do it based upon your schedule. It's a good practice to do that. Now, there are a lot of tremendous share features for this if you actually get on computers, so you can share this across your entire family. So you could share and have your parents have one that's your baseball schedule they've already created potentially, or something like that, and share this out. That has to be done from a computer. It's not quite as easy to share across Gmail accounts between, or when you're only on an iPad. Now, for you, if you're saying, I don't know if I even have one of these calendars, here are two things that you can look at. Number one would be that if you go into the bottom here, you can click on calendars, and then under what I believe you would have probably called as Gmail, you may have changed the name, you should have one that's called your last name, first initial at uscstudents.org. That's the calendar that you're going to want to use for this, unless you've created one separately. Something else that's like a nice little fun detail that you can consider is that if you want, you can also add in invitees. So if you have something that you want to work together on with a friend, let's say you are going to schedule a project time coming up here in the near future, you can say, hey, I'm going to invite you to this so that we can all work on this together. Or if you have a teacher that you want to schedule time to meet with, a guidance counselor, something along those lines, maybe you'll have a lesson for a musical instrument, you can actually add in an invitee here, and then you can collaboratively work and plan something out, and you can still add notes as we discussed before. Something else that's very nice is you can add in alerts too, so you can alert yourself. So maybe 10 minutes before you're going to need to start working on your homework, you're going to have a beep and remind you what you have to do. And you can also plan very far ahead as well. So if your teachers tell you, hey, you know what, you have a project coming up, you can schedule that in 2 weeks ahead of time as to when the due date is, and you can set your alerts actually to be days before so that you can give yourself due dates on specific tasks within that assignment. So there are a lot of neat features there. Now, to practice and to plan this out as you move forward here, here's what we're going to do. We have a quick little checklist of using the calendar app and what needs to be done. The specific items are, we want you to create an event schedule for the week. In other words, for the rest of this week, build your schedule that is not yet homework, but all the non-school events that you have, so you know what commitments you have to keep track of throughout the course of this week. Then for tonight, we want you to create an event titled Homework, and put it into a time slot that you will actually be able to complete that work. Under the notes, as we showed before, include all the specific assignments that you have for tonight. Now, to test and to practice something out. Invite a classmate to join you in that event just so you can see how it works out with the sharing of that. Next, create an alert for this event. So in other words, create an alert so maybe 10 minutes before it's time for you to work on your homework. Make sure that it's going to send you some sort of a notification, maybe a push notification. It's going to actually beep on your iPad, something along those lines. And then finally, something we did not discuss yet, one thing that's very nice about this calendar feature is that you can actually just drag your events to different locations if your schedule changes. Let's say your baseball game gets delayed and changed to the next day. You don't have to go in and make a bunch of typing changes. You can just tap and hold and then drag that event to the next day. And it's something very nice and easy for you to be able to use so you can make your schedule adjust on the fly. And again, it's very nice within this calendar because as long as you are signed into your Gmail account, you can make it so this calendar will sync and will be available, and you can edit it on your computer, on your phone, on your iPad, on whatever. So the calendar app is something that is really great for time management, keeping yourself organized, and making sure that you know what's going on in your life, and also making sure that you get things done that you need to get done. So that is our second day of training here. We went through how to use the internet at home, how to set up Find My iPad, and finally how to use the calendar app. Please let me know if you have any questions or concerns.